My daughter forced me to give up parental rights so her rich stepdad could adopt her. 10 years later, she's begging to come back after he cut her off financially. When Sophia was 10, my ex-wife Rebecca confessed she'd been having an affair with a wealthy businessman. She moved out that same day, and we filed for divorce. Initially, we agreed on weekend custody since I worked 2 jobs while she stayed unemployed. Those early months were precious, planning adventure trips and activities that made the divorce bearable. But gradually, everything changed. Sophia started canceling our Friday plans, claiming she was going skiing or on expensive vacations with her stepfather instead. Our weekly meetings became bi-weekly, then monthly, then just single days when she bothered showing up at all. During our limited time together, she'd constantly compare everything to her stepfather's extravagant lifestyle, complaining when I checked prices before ordering and raving about the PlayStation he'd bought or the new bicycle from mom. She'd whine about minor inconveniences that never bothered her before, making it clear that my modest attempts at father-daughter bonding couldn't compete with his unlimited budget and luxury experiences. The situation deteriorated when Sophia ghosted me completely for 3 months. Despite multiple calls and texts, she refused all contact. My lawyer suggested we could sue Rebecca for parental alienation, but warned that 12-year-old Sophia might testify she didn't want to spend time with me anymore. She could demand increased child support to maintain her new standard of living, despite her wealthy stepfather already funding everything. We opted for an out-of-court settlement instead, hoping to resolve things quietly through mediation. During that meeting, Rebecca and her husband claimed complete innocence, insisting they had no role in Sophia's behavior and stepping aside to let her speak for herself. That's when my daughter dropped the most devastating bombshell imaginable. She wanted me to give up my parental rights entirely. The memory of that moment remains crystal clear even now, 10 years later. I sat in stunned silence while my lawyer nudged me for a response, staring at everyone in disbelief. I held Sophia's hand and explained what relinquishing parental rights meant, that she couldn't call me dad anymore and would no longer be my daughter. She shrugged off my hand, looked directly into my eyes, and said that's exactly what she wanted. When my lawyer tried explaining the legal implications regarding property and inheritance, she remained unmoved. Turning to her stepfather, she asked if he could adopt her once I disowned her. He nodded enthusiastically, calling her darling while my world completely shattered. After losing my wife to infidelity, Sophia had been my only source of hope and purpose. I'd avoided dating for 2 years after the divorce, wanting to give her my complete attention and love. This rejection felt like the cruelest possible betrayal. My lawyer requested time to consider their demand while I struggled to think clearly. That night, I broke down completely, crying for hours in my empty house while every emotion poured out. My parents rushed over to console me, equally horrified by Sophia's demands. Even my mother's attempts to reason with Sophia failed. She remained adamant that I surrender my parental rights so her stepfather could legally adopt her. My lawyer warned that suing for manipulation would be difficult to prove and expensive to pursue, especially since Sophia had already chosen their side. Facing no viable alternatives, I reluctantly signed away my rights to the child I'd loved unconditionally. The aftermath was devastating. I lost my second job, then my primary employment, eventually moving to a different town where I wandered aimlessly for months. Recovery took 2 years of therapy, gym routines, and solo hiking trips that gradually helped me rebuild my shattered life. During one trek, I met Brianna, who had a 5-year-old daughter named Grace. When Brianna first introduced us, I broke down seeing Grace, reminded painfully of Sophia. I maintained a careful distance, terrified of getting hurt again. But when Grace asked me to adopt her on her 12th birthday, I felt overwhelmed with unexpected joy. Now I have 2 daughters, Grace and 3-year-old Riley with Brianna. Last week, returning from work, I saw a familiar face that made my blood freeze. Sophia, now 22, had grown taller and prettier, but was unmistakably recognizable. She ran toward me shouting, "Dad, I'm your daughter, Sophia. I finally found you." I looked at her with dead eyes and replied that I have 2 daughters, but she's not one of them. Before she could respond, I walked away, warning her to stop following or I'd report her to police. The next day, she appeared at my house, claiming Rebecca had died and her stepfather brought his mistress home, cutting off financial support and threatening to disown her. She begged for another chance while I listened with complete emotional detachment. I told her plainly that her problems weren't my concern and slammed the door in her face. She then manipulated my mother with tears and sob stories, convincing mom that I should reconcile for family harmony. But the pain she inflicted 10 years ago hasn't healed, and I refuse to open that wound again. During our final conversation arranged by my mother, Sophia revealed she'd been so pampered by Rebecca and her stepfather that she never finished high school, too busy vacationing and dining to focus on education. She claimed Rebecca had orchestrated the entire parental rights scheme to humiliate me publicly. When I asked what she expected from our relationship now, she immediately inquired about inheritance and financial support. The moment I explained she'd receive only love while my property and insurance would go to Grace and Riley, her enthusiasm vanished completely. She hasn't contacted us since, proving once again that money was her only motivation for reconnection.